close, and I guess he made a couple mistakes and dropped back. So after that, it was just kind of not much going on ahead of me except lapping the occasional Jetta. It looks like a lot of them went into the pits at the end. But yeah, no, not much happened, but it still was a fun race. Enjoy the car, enjoy the track.
Nice. Did you have any trouble with turning in or anything like that? The braking, because I know that they have been working on this car to make it more drivable.
No, the car for the most part was pretty good. The setup I was running, it's pretty good right out of the gate, but as the fuel burns down and the tires come in more, it starts to get a little better. So I didn't really have any issues with turning or with the car pushing, except when I missed a corner. But yeah, it was good.
Nice. Yeah, that's something that usually happens at Laguna. It's the thing, the car is pushed really easy because the track gets really narrow all of a sudden, and it looks like you didn't really have that many problems tonight. So congratulations on the win. Is there anybody that you'd like to thank?
Yeah, certainly Stevie Ray and everybody else who puts these races on. You wonderful commentators in Apex Racing for the awesome broadcast. And my teammates at Delta Sport and everybody at All Sports Racing for their support.
Alrighty, are we going to see you in any of the other races tonight?
Well, I'm currently hot lapping in the Spec Racer Ford as we speak, so see me in that one, and then definitely the Mazdas afterwards.
Alrighty, sounds good. Try not to stink up the show too much for us, please. Give us something good to watch. And
I'll try to make it more interesting for you.
Alrighty, we appreciate your time. We'll see you later.
Maybe we just interview him all the way through the Spec Racer Ford race. Thank you, right. Caleb. There you go. Caleb Patry, our regular season champion in the GR86s, and taking the win tonight here in the virtual runoffs. All right, so...
News for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
And welcome back to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for the Ray Esports Runoffs, brought to you by Grassroots Motorsports Magazine, Spec Racer Sports, Common Gear, and Grass Paddock Motorsports here on Apex Racing TV. I'm Greg Ginsburg, along with Jack Ritchie. And Jack, we're now ready. Well, we're finishing up qualifying. We've got a couple minutes left here for our Spec Racer Fords for their 15-minute qualifying session, and then it is going to be, once again, 25 minutes to the checkered flag, and it is currently Morgan Burkhardt. We just saw the tail end of his last qualifying lap. Morgan Burkhardt, your provisional pole sitter, with a 134.18, and we'll talk a little bit more about his exploits in Spec Racer Ford here in just a little bit. Caleb Patry, who was interviewing and driving just a few moments ago. Congratulations on his win in the GR86s. He is currently your second fastest driver on track with a 135.09, so he's about 93 hundredths of a second off pole. Jamison Huffman, our winner from the TDI Cup cars, is currently your third fastest driver with a qualifying time of 137.70, and then Brad Gould and Beans Forster, your top five. And I've got a lot of stories to talk about Spec Racer Ford here coming up here, Jack. But really quick, as things are running down, let's quickly look at the final Season 8 results in the Ray Esports Champion. The perfect 7 for 7 here this evening. Beans Forster was 49 points back from Burkhardt. You can see how dominating Burkhardt was this season with Megan Overstreet. And there's Megan right now working her 8th qualifying lap. She's currently qualified 9th fastest overall. She finished 3rd in the championship. She's going to get a nice little trophy from the Ray Esports folks. Andrew Wozencroft 4th, and then Josh Justice 5th in the points. And I should mention that Beans Forster was our Spec Racer Ford champion last season, so he has turned the mantle over to young Mr. Burkhardt as Overstreet crosses the stripe, and she's going to pick up 2 positions here, Jack. Lays down a 135.86. That is now good enough for 7th.
Yeah, not a bad lap. I mean, from 2nd to 8th, it looks like we have about 0.8 of a second separating those guys. So it just looks like Burkhardt's a little mad from that last race, and he's just taking his frustrations out right now because he is wiping them up.
Yeah, he is. And we'll talk a little bit more. Morgan's had some very interesting last couple days with Spec Racer Fords, whether they be in the virtual world, as we note here, and with the championship, or in the real world as well. And actually, a couple of racers here in tonight's time does not improve. Giancarlo Schooler now, well, for a moment, Giancarlo Schooler in the 111 machine was your second fastest driver, but he is headed down into the pits. And Jamison Huffman, you see him right there in the number 89 machine. He had just taken the win in our previous race, and Huffman now with a 134.68, almost about a half a second off of Burkhardt's times. Now second fastest, Charles Vaccaro in the 221 machine. He's going to hold station in 8th.
Yeah, Huffman's got to have some confidence right now coming off that victory, so I bet he's feeling really good with this potential front row starting spot going into this race.
Yeah, we've got 2 race winners and a series champion, all within within a couple tenths of one another, and all starting on the first 2 rows here as the checkered flag is out on the session. We just saw the 444 machine of Trenton Kramer, who had that podium finish just a little while ago in the Jettas. He is currently qualified 15th out of 16 drivers that have set times. So it looks like Mr. Kramer is going to have his work cut out for him, as we're on board now with Caleb Patry, who's on his last flying lap, the number 198 machine, looking to improve, not only improve upon his previous best, a 135.09, but if he can best a 134.68, that is Huffman's time. He will put himself on the front row as he comes out of turn number 10 and comes across the track, across the line, underneath that bridge, and Caleb Patry turns in that last time by a 135.09, and that is not good enough to improve. He is going to start on the outside of row number 2.
Yeah, and that's what I love about this league so far is one series you may have one guy dominating, and the next one, hey, that guy's in 4th. So he's going to have his work cut out for him compared to the last race. I mean, he still has an excellent starting spot, but it's not the pole, so this race should be really fun.
That's right, and we'll see the grid here in just a moment. But even Brad Gould and Beans Forster, and a bit of a surprise for Forster, who finished as our season 6 champion, season 7 champion last season in the Spec Racer Fords. Beans Forster only manages 6th fastest here in qualifying, but our top 6 drivers all within 1 second of another here in qualifying, so pretty darn tight. Jack, why don't you run down the starting grid?
All right, starting first, we have Morgan Burkhardt. Second, Jamison Huffman. Row 2, Giancarlo Schooler and Caleb Paltry, our winner from earlier in the Toyotas. Row 3, we have Brad Gould and Benjamin Forrester. Row 4, Megan Overstreet and Charlie Vaccaro. Row 5, Andrew Rosencroft and Joshua Justice. Row 6, we have Caleb Pocock and Steven Blethyn. Row 7, we have Wiley Cox and Deacon Greenfield. Row 8, we have Trenton Kramer, Mark Sherman, and then rounding out the field, we have Seth Spolman.
I always get worried when I see somebody. Burkhardt, Huffman, Schooler, and Patry, I believe, are probably all sitting in the same Discord channel right now, talking to one another and coordinating as they're racing. So we'll see how things turn out, but we are waiting for Giancarlo Schooler to come to the grid. Hopefully he won't have to start from the pit lane, and there he goes. He checks in, and we are ready to go. And we're going to have the pace car now bring our Spec Racer Ford drivers around. As wow, we've got I think Huffman and Patry and Burkhardt. They're all I think they're playing games up there with us, Jack, as they're all swapping positions here before the pace car rolls off. But we've got Burkhardt and Huffman, Patry, and Schooler going to make up those front rows. And as we've got the pace car starting to bring them around, let's talk about our sponsor for tonight's second race of the evening, and that's Spec Racer Sports. Spec Racer Sports' mission is to fuel and support your addiction to road racing. And Spec Racer Sports delivers by providing the parts and services you need when you need them at a fair, competitive price, all with exceptional customer support. Located trackside at Motorsports Ranch, Houston, Spec Racer Sports offers exceptionally prepared Spec Racer Fords for rental and for sale. In addition, they also offer storage and support technical services such as chassis dyno work and driver coaching, as well as fabrication. Find out more about Spec Racer Sports and their services by visiting www.specracersports.com. And so there you go, Giancarlo Schooler. It looks like before the green flag comes out, Morgan Burkhardt brings the field around turn 11. The group bunches up as they've probably now hopefully recovered from the shenanigans we saw on the pace lap. And green flag is in the air. Josh Justice immediately jumping to driver's right, trying to get around Charles Vaccaro. But it is Burkhardt and Huffman side by side as they come down the hill. Caleb Patry now has gone wide out driver's right, as well as Beans Forster. And the whole field now seemingly getting through safely with Morgan Burkhardt. I don't want to say that yet, as we've got a couple cars off in the dirt, and that was Charles Vaccaro and I believe Deacon Greenfield as well in the number 36 machine, as they fall a little bit further back in the pack. But it is, for the moment, a breakaway 2 drivers. It is Morgan Burkhardt and it is Jamison Huffman as they come out of turn 5, heading over towards turn number 6. Giancarlo Schooler here, Jack, dropping all the way back to 5th.
Yeah, that start was hectic right there, and a good job by Charles to not come back on the track and just throttle up and take out a bunch of cars. He did an amazing job rejoining and made it so everybody can keep racing, so good on him for doing that. As we want to see everybody racing, right? These top 2 are pulling away as we head down in the corkscrew as well. It's going to be a good battle. I think you'll see Patry and Gould and Schooler get up here as well. It's just going to take a little bit, I think, to get the tires warmed up and get feeling confident in the car. I think after that happens, we're going to have a really good one.
That's right. And so Charles Vaccaro, having gone off, coming out of the Andretti hairpin, finds himself now 7 positions back in 15th, as we're now watching Caleb Patry, who is about 6 car lengths off. Well, now more than 6 car lengths off. I think from the looks of it, Jamison Huffman might have gotten a slowdown penalty, maybe as far back as the corkscrew, as he came out of the throttle on the front straight. He's now going to drop back behind Jamison Huffman, or pardon me, he's going to drop behind Brad Gould and Caleb Patry. So Huffman, who had been fighting with Burkhardt for the lead, now finds himself in 4th position as we got a lot of brake lock up there from Brad Gould in the blue number 97.
Yeah, it looks like Gould hit the hit the rumble strips like we talked about earlier. Can't do that, and he did it, and he survived. So good on him for doing that. But that was almost a really bad accident for him. So
is that Trenton Kramer? That is Trenton Kramer, who had that podium in the Jettas and started at the back of the field, and he is missing something very crucial to straight line speed in his Spec Racer Ford, and that's a lot of front body work.
yeah, my goodness, it looked like he missed his braking point or maybe some contact. I don't know. He just all of a sudden just started going straight, going into the corkscrew, and that's not supposed to happen. So hopefully we'll see what happened there as we see Megan Overstreet battling for 5th, I think. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, as Overstreet trying to make her way around Giancarlo Schooler, had just passed Brad Gould coming out of the final corner. Overstreet, a stalwart in another one of the Ray Esports Racing League's family, the Weekend Warriors, seen every Sunday afternoon here on Apex Racing TV, and I think she's got a couple wins to her name, but tough competition all the way around, and she goes wide. There you go. It's the announcer's curse popping in here, Jack. She goes wide coming out of turn 5 and gets a whole bunch of the dirt on the runoff at the outside of turn 4, pardon me.
Yeah, as we talked about earlier in the pre-race, I mean, these things, we had drivers complaining about the...
Nathan Nicholson, who races in another one of the Apex Racing broadcast series. Nathan was racing in the Spec MX-5 Cup Series, which is made up of NC Miatas, the 3rd generation Miatas, and Morgan Burkhardt was there to race in a Spec Racer Ford for the very first time, and he put his very first dry laps together in a Spec Racer Ford, qualified the car on pole, and won his very first race from pole. So he's looking to repeat tonight here in the Ray Esports Racing League.
Yeah, I mean, he did earlier in the Toyota, so why not do it again in the Spec? Nothing wrong with that.
That's right. So yeah, great to see that. We'll see how he does. And I think I mentioned last week when we were at Virginia International Raceway that Brad Gould had come out to a competition licensing school that I was an instructor at, and he essentially came out because he wanted to see what the difference was between the virtual version of the Spec Racer Ford and the real version of the Spec Racer Ford. It's Caleb Patry, great run up the Ray Hall straight. He's got the inside move going into, and there's contact as both drivers come through the corkscrew, and that is going to give the number 89 machine of Huffman a great run through the rainy curve, and Beans Forster's right in the thick of this battle as well as they come into turn number 10.
Was it my mistake, or did Patry and Burkhardt also make contact last week in the Mazdas?
I'm fairly certain they did. They did up going into turn 14 up at the top of the roller coaster, and with Patry going off into the grass and Burkhardt eventually, I think, taking the win.
Yeah, so, I mean, these guys racing each other hard again. I think their teammates as well, as we see, oh my goodness, almost a 3-wide battle for the lead. These guys are racing like it's the last lap, but hey, it's the runoffs. You got to do what you got to do to get this whip, to get the W. I mean, why not, right? Race as hard as you want, just as long as it's clean. And I mean, these guys are the premier clean racers, it seems like, on iRacing. I haven't seen anything like it, so I love it.
And we've got somebody off, I think that was Giancarlo Schooler in the 111 machine, that all-white machine. He went off at turn 3, manages to gather the car back up, but he's going to lose a lot of positions. He now finds himself back in 7th position after having started 3rd.
Yeah, but the way those guys are racing up front, the top 4 positions, I have a feeling that he'll get right back up there if they keep racing as hard as they do. Because, I mean, they are running about a second off the pace. We see Forrester and Overstreet running in the 135s, the 135, 7, and 8. And the last lap for Burkhardt and Patry was a 137.1 and a 136.8. So if they keep running like this, they're going to have more than 4 cars to deal with, I think.
Yeah, definitely. If they continue to run half of this course in 2x2 fashion through here, definitely. And you mentioned Overstreet. She just ran the fastest lap of the race at a 135.72. So yeah, almost a second and a half faster than our leaders. But now that they've gotten back in line, we'll see if that changes slightly. But you said it earlier, right before we went to the green flag, Jack, that the draft here really does make a difference. And we saw that certainly Caleb Patry was able to draft his way up to Morgan Burkhardt, and there wasn't much Burkhardt could do about it. As Schooler is trying to make a move now, he's trying to get around the 97 of Brad Gould. And as I was mentioning, Gould went to that competition licensing school a couple weeks ago. He has told me that he is going to take his very first turn behind the wheel in a race, racing in anger in a spec racer Ford, a real one, over Labor Day weekend this year at Summit Point Raceway. He was just getting the budget together. Doesn't have the money to go and run a full season. That's the other advantage of iRacing. You may have to spend $12 per car, but it's still a lot cheaper than either putting together your own ride or doing an arrive and drive package.
Yeah, it's spending $12 rather than spending $12,000.
I could race a Formula One car, and his instructor just didn't have an answer for that. So, and I don't know how you come back from that one. But there's a great little scrap going on right now. This is now we were just watching the battle for third with Huffman and Forster. And just back behind them, it is once again Schooler and Gould. As Megan Overstreet has managed. She's kind of in an island unto herself. She's about 2.5 seconds back behind Forster and Huffman, trying to work her way back up there. But great little fight here. But as Huffman and Forster are fighting, there's Huffman running wide, coming out of turn number 5, going up the hill towards turn 6 and onto the Ray Hall straight. Both Forster and Huffman, as they're jockeying for position, starting to lose ground just a little bit with Burkhardt and Patry, who have now gotten in line. And look at what a couple of laps will do time-wise here, Jack. Big differences.
Yeah, it looks like the top two maybe started to work together a little bit on the straightaway and draft a little bit more and not be side-by-side so much. Because as you mentioned, we saw our 4-car battle kind of dwindle down to 2 cars, and they're side-by-side again, and he hits Burkhardt. Oh, my goodness, he almost hit him off the track.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that they might be listening to me on the radio or something, but because I was going to say that Burkhardt and Patry had just run high 134s, a 134.8, a 134.9, and it was almost 0.6 of a second faster than both Huffman and Forster were, as our two leaders coming down into the Andretti hairpin. Patry to the inside, that black, orange, and white number 198 machine. He gets a little bit of the sausage curbing, and does that allow Burkhardt to come underneath him in the 3? No, Burkhardt slots back in behind, and just like that, well, Huffman.
Give or take, depending on the part of the track, but I think the thing that she hopes for is those 4 just keep messing around up front. As for Huffman and Forster, I think the best thing they can do is split up Burkhardt and Patry. I think that's where they're going to lose their time, is with these two working together whenever they do work together. Splitting them up is going to be crucial if they want to have a chance at this win later on in the race. I know it's only about halfway, but I really think it's going to be important.
Yeah, and you said it there. We are now almost halfway through this fight, 13 minutes into a 25-minute battle. Now Burkhardt goes deep and down to the inside at Andretti. Patry gets held out to the outside. That would have been a great opportunity for Huffman to come underneath the 198 machine. Not quite close enough to do it. As we take a look at this battle a little bit further back, we've got, we saw this fight going on in the GR86s just a little while ago here, Jack, with Josh Justice and Andrew Wozencroft, the 99 and the 80. And look who else is in that fight, just not in the fight yet, but a little bit further back. Caleb Pocock in the number 88 machine. He's starting to close things down a little bit on the 2 drivers ahead, and we're going to have that same 3-way battle that we had just a little while ago.
Yeah, we might have a 3-car scrap once again, as those 3 just will not leave each other alone, it seems like. I mean, but isn't that how it always goes? You have a race with one guy or an incident maybe, and then you just cannot get away from them. It just seems to be how that goes. As we see the 198 get really loose out of the corkscrew, my goodness, and he's getting passed for second. He might get passed for third by Forster here. Man, these guys are on the edge.
Forster's going to try to go deep and go around Patry on the outside of 10. Not quite carrying enough speed to make that work. But we saw Burkhardt and Patry once again side by side through the corkscrew, and that time with that little wiggle from the 198, it allows Huffman to move up into second. And Forster definitely not with a good run out of turn 11.
But then when they don't want to, they let the other two join. So I'm not really sure what the strategy is here, but they obviously know what they're doing.
I don't know if they have. Again, I think the four of them here, Jack, are on Discord right now, laughing and chatting away, and I don't think there's a strategy either. I think they're just all taking it as each corner goes, kind of like a go-karting race here. As big rake lockup as Huffman goes around, Burkhardt goes around, Patry gets into the back of Huffman, or Patry gets in the back of Burkhardt. He's now going to have to recover, and he's going to get a slowdown there. But Caleb Patry is your new leader. Beans Forster running in second, and that's going to move Megan Overstreet up into third. And look at this, as Overstreet now right onto the back of the 231 machine, challenging for second. That little contretemps there at the top of the hill really slowed down the whole lead pack and brought them back to not only the 044 machine, but Giancarlo Schooler and Brad Gould are closing things down as well.
Yeah, Schooler and Gould they're thinking in their head, this is the best thing that could have ever happened. The leaders all got together and two of them spun out. I mean,
all right, so let's do this. Let's take a look here, Jack. We'll go back to just a few moments ago as they came up to the top of the corkscrew. Burkhardt, Huffman, Patry, Beans Forster, and there's the love tap, more than a love tap there from Patry on Burkhardt, but Burkhardt and Huffman had already gotten around. I was wondering, Lee, maybe we could take a look at that again. Here we go. Read my mind as they come to the top of the corkscrew. Huffman to driver's right, and looks like Burkhardt maybe just a little bit late on the brakes as Huffman tried to go around the outside.
Yeah, it looks like Huffman just got on the brakes too hard, and oh man, I'm sorry, not Huffman. Burkhardt got on the brakes too hard, and just Huffman was there, and they just locked up and spun each other out. Man, that is very unfortunate.
Yeah, and it looks like Jamison Huffman after that, he just checked out of the session. Guarantee he's probably still in the chat mocking Caleb Patry, but Huffman is now out. Burkhardt down to 6th position, so it doesn't look like he's going to run the perfect season this time, as we are now about 17 minutes into this 25-minute race with Caleb Patry, your leader. Beans Forster second, Megan Overstreet third, as we jump a little bit further back here, and this is the battle for 11th position. Jack, we've got Deacon Greenfield. I already told you what I feel about somebody named Wiley Cox running 12th, and Mark Sherman 13th. And there's that move I was going to be scared of, as Wiley Cox tries to come right underneath Deacon Greenfield onto the front straight.
Yeah, I think Wiley's living up to his name right there. As he dove it in the inside in the last corner and got that big run down the straightaway, he takes it down into turn 1. We'll see if he's able to outbrake Greenfield. It looks like he is, and he clears him, and he's going to set sail and try to chase down Mosencroft, who's up in 10th. He's got about 8 seconds to go, but, I mean, you never know what happens. We just saw what happened with the leaders. And speaking of the leader, I think Patry has some damage, too. That might be something to keep an eye on, because that last lap, he was still about a second slower than Forrester, so I'm not sure if he got caught up in that melee either, but yeah, it looks like his left
you can see the smashed in front. Well, he had gotten into the back of Burkhardt as after Burkhardt and Huffman had their contact, Patry just really didn't have anywhere to go. And so, you can see the damage there. That's not going to help from an aerodynamic standpoint. Of course, big difference here in iRacing is, the body shell of the Spec Racer Ford is folded up. In real life, it's fiberglass. It would have been in multiple pieces on the pavement somewhere. But Megan Overstreet, she's pulled right up back to the back of the 231 machine again, as Patry, although he may have that aero disadvantage, he's got at least, he's got a little bit of clearance. He's got a little bit of a buffer right now, about a second and a half or a second and a quarter. And if Overstreet starts fighting it out with the 231 machine, that could be to Patry's advantage.
Yeah, but I think if those two start drafting together, they're going to catch him really quickly. So it'll be interesting to see with about 6 minutes left how far up they're able to get. I think they can close on him. I'm not sure if they'll be able to pass him because, as we've seen all night, he has a lot of speed.
All right, and once again, Megan Overstreet. Now she's been in that draft of Forsters, but she is the fastest of our drivers up at the front of the pack. We've talked about the aero issues that Patrick's having. Last time by, Overstreet ran a 135.5, almost 0.2 of a second faster than Forster. And Overstreet is setting up the pass going into the corkscrew, and they're going to come down the hill side by side once again. Forster's managed to hold off the 044 machine for now, but you saw where Forster, he carried so much speed down the hill, it was kind of hard to get things woed up for the rainy curve. The rainy curve is one of those corners where you have to get out of the throttle because it goes off camber on the outside. And look at this, Caleb Patry pitting in from the lead.
Oh, wow.
And that is going to give the lead now to Beans Forster, moving Megan Overstreet up in the second. It could be a fuel issue. It could just very well be a damage issue that he was having too many issues driving it. And we just got word that we think that perhaps Caleb Patry received a black flag. We do black flag drivers here in the Ray Esports Racing League if they pick up 12 incident points, or actually I guess the 13th incident point would trigger a black flag, and so he may have gotten a drive-through penalty. Right. Yeah, and so there are a couple of questions here because and as we're looking at it, Caleb Patry was showing far under that 12 incident point limit, that it is quite possible that he had enough damage from the incident, Jack, that iRacing typically will give you 3 laps in order to come in if they give you a meatball flag due to mechanical damage. And he was getting right at the end of those 3 laps, and if you don't come in, you get disqualified anyhow. Oh no! As Overstreet gets loose coming through the rainy curve, and I just finished, Jack, didn't I finish saying a lap ago how loose it can get on the outside there as it drops off camber? And Megan Overstreet overdrives the rainy curve, and she is now going to fall back into 4th position after having been in a spot where she could have possibly taken the lead. That is going to move, look at this, this is going to move Morgan Burkhardt back up in the 2nd, and Brad Gould in the number 97 machine. He now finds himself in 3rd position, but he's got Overstreet sitting right back behind him, and Overstreet, if she recovers, there they are coming through Andretti. I have a feeling she's going to pounce, and she's probably going to have to pounce soon because we've only got 2 minutes left on the clock here. All right, let's take a look and see how this happened, Jeff.
Yeah, it looks like she got down in here and was on the outside and just, oh my goodness, ran just enough wide, as we talked about, hit the curbs, and the car just got loose. Forrester had done the same thing in the corkscrew just a couple corners previously, so man, that is really unfortunate. Luckily, she's still in 4th, and as we've seen, anything can happen. But look who's in 2nd. Burkhardt down to 2.8 seconds, and he was about 2 seconds faster that last lap, and they weren't even battling. So he is driving really, really fast right now. We're going to see what happens. I don't think he has enough time, but never know, because that thing is shrinking fast.
That's right. Yeah, he ran, as you said, over 2 seconds faster than Caleb Patry. We'll go back to those battles for the lead in just a few moments, but let's take a look at this. We've got Andrew Wozencroft and Josh Justice. This is the battle for 7th. Justice in that light blue number 99 machine. Wozencroft in the white with black and red striped number 80. They both back straight that lead to the corkscrew for the very last time tonight. And Burkhardt is closing things down on Forster once again, almost 1.3 seconds faster, but with only about 5 corners left, actually 4 corners left. It may be too late for the number 40 machine here as Forster navigates the corkscrew, heads to Rainey, and now only 2 more corners remain. Burkhardt, he's putting up a heck of a fight, though. He's within almost he's within a second now, Jack, as they come through the final corners out of turn 10. Hard under braking into turn 11 and onto the front straight. Burkhardt about 6 car lengths back, and doesn't matter how much weaving Beans Forrester does, Burkhardt's not going to be able to catch up. Beans Forrester, our Season 7 champion, takes the win tonight in Spec Racer Ford. Morgan Burkhardt, our Season 8 champion, will finish in second, and Megan Overstreet will take home the bronze tonight. Giancarlo Schooler will finish in fourth. Brett Gould will finish fifth. Charles Vaccaro, and then let's watch this battle to the line. Wozencroft over Justice. And what is the margin there? The margin is between Wozencroft and Justice, yeah, just a couple thousandths of a second. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. All right, so there you go. Josh Justice finishing in 8th right behind Andrew Wozencroft. Deacon Greenfield makes up 5 positions. He's going to finish 9th. Wiley Cox will finish in 10th, and Caleb Pocock from the pit lane finishes 11th. Mark Sherman 12th. Blethen, Patry, Huffman, Kramer, and Seth Spolman never took the green. All right, so let's take a look here, and wouldn't you know, let's tell you what, let's bring in Megan Overstreet, who finished 3rd tonight in Spec Racer 4.
Hey Megan, P3 tonight. What were your thoughts when you were battling for the lead and you hit the curbs just a little bit and spun it out?
I was so hoping I wouldn't hit the curb and spin out. It's like, just as soon as I hit the tank slapper, I was like, oh, okay, that's over. Just throw it in first and hope for the best.
Oh man, and then those guys up front were battling like crazy too, and you were about 3 seconds behind them. And what were your thoughts that whole time too? Are you like, I hope that something happens up there so I have a shot, or what?
I was hoping they'd be able to stay clean, but I was able to catch up. So I was pushing as hard as I could the entire time.
Nice. Well, you had a nice 3rd place finish tonight. It's the first time I've got to see you on the podium, so that's really cool. It's my 2nd week. So it was a nice, clean race, hectic race. You know, how do you feel? Like, I know a podium's got to feel good, but you came really, really close to getting that lead, especially when Forrester got loose right before you did in the corkscrew.
Yeah. The SRF is usually my best car, so I was most confident that I feel racing in this series, so I was feeling really good up until that point.
Yeah, I've had that happen too. It's not fun, but still a great result. So who would you like to thank tonight?
Oh, everybody that puts this on. Y'all do a great job doing the broadcast. Spec Racer Sports for sponsoring us. My family watches the races, so shout out to y'all. And Stevie Ray and everybody that puts this races on. I mean, we wouldn't have all this without folks showing up and racing hard and fair.
Alrighty, well thank you Megan. Congratulations on the P3 tonight, and hopefully we'll see you next season.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, there's Megan Overstreet finishing 3rd tonight in Spec Racer 4. Let's move on to our 2nd place finisher. I'm sure he hoped that things would end up a little differently. It is, well, let's see here. It is Morgan Burkhardt, driver the number 40 machine.
Dude, you had another crazy race. I don't think I've watched one race where it's just been a nice clip.
Came up about a second short on Beans because apparently nobody wanted to win this race.
Yeah, it seemed like that. It seemed like everybody was giving it away, right? And I mean, even those last few laps, I mean, take me through your thoughts. You were about 4 seconds back with like 3 laps to go, and then you closed it down. Like you were gaining like 2 seconds a lap. What were you thinking?
I was just hoping that Beans could make a mistake or an error or something, and I could maybe pressure him into a mistake and I could get around him, but just get as close as you can, as fast as you can. And it got really difficult towards the end because after the spin, the tires got so hot, it just felt like greasy watermelons on the rear wheels. It was all over the place, kind of sliding around through corners, but it was a lot of fun.
We were kind of speculating what happened to Caleb too, because we saw he pulled off out of the lead. Do you know what happened?
Yeah, no, he got a 12X drive-through.
Oh, wow. See, we weren't sure. We were like, was it a meatball? Maybe overheating?
In Spec Racer Ford, Beans Forrester.
Dude, congratulations on the victory in the Spec Racer Ford tonight. Walk me through your race, because it looked crazy from up here.
Yeah, I was falling off for a little bit there until I started pushing Jameson along to catch up to Caleb and Morgan, and then too much fighting happened, and I was able to kind of stick to the back of them. And from there, it was just a war of attrition.
What were your thoughts when you saw all that carnage up in the corkscrew right there?
Yes, please.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I know you and Megan were battling hard too, and then she went around. So I mean, you're thinking to yourself, all right, I got a good gap. I'm all by myself. But then you,
Full send sims.
alrighty, and we'll see you in the next one. And I appreciate your time. Congratulations on the victory yet again at the runoffs.
All right, see you guys. Thank you.
All right, there you go. Beans Forrester, congratulations on your win tonight in the Ray Esports Season 8 runoffs. All right, so, Jack, we've got one more race to go. It's going to be Spec Miata, those Global MX-5 Cup cars. But first, we've got to take a quick little break. And thanks to our partners and sponsors that bring you this action on Apex Racing TV. We'll be back here in just a few moments from WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Hold tight. Alright, and they are about 6 minutes into qualifying now.
Oh man, nobody wanted to win that one.
No, seriously.
and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad.
2 races in the books, Jack. 1 left to go, and it's the one that usually everybody is, on the edge of their seat for. It is, I'll call it Spec Miata. It's my years of club racing that bring that to me. But the Global MX-5 Cup cars here on the iRacing platform, and this is always an exciting race. You get the close racing of the Spec Racer Fords. You get the resilience of the chassis that you have in those touring cars. You put them all together, and you throw in maybe some problems getting tire temps up to getting tires up to temperature, especially early on in a race, and it makes for some really cool, exciting, very close racing. And so we've got our drivers. They are now already about 10 minutes, actually 9.5 minutes into their 15-minute qualifying session at the moment. Tell me if I sound like a broken record or not, but Morgan Burkhardt is currently your provisional pole sitter with a qualifying time of 136.17. Caleb Patry about half a second off. Well, he was a half second off. Caleb Patry dropping back to third fastest with a 137.24, and that is because Aaron Johnson has now checked into the session, the number 24 machine. And Jack, this is a very cool thing to see. I haven't seen Aaron in the Ray Esports Racing League for over a year and a half, but more importantly, Aaron Johnson racing in the real live Idemitsu Global MX5 Cup here in the United States. And I know that they are going to be heading out to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, I think, for their next round. And so he is definitely trying to get some testing in with some top-notch competition. So I'm glad to see that Aaron's joining us there. He is currently third fastest with a 136.93. Caleb Patry and Murphy Nichols. Good to see Murphy out here this evening. Another one of those drivers that I saw at Competition Racing School and got his real-life competition license a couple weeks ago. Let's quickly take a look at the final championship standings. We did have 116 drivers, all challenging for the gold medal here for season number 8. And you can see it again. Talk about broken records. 3 out of the 4 classes go to Morgan Burkhardt. Morgan Burkhardt with 5 poles, 4 wins, and 134 points. His teammate Giancarlo Schooler took home the other 2 wins here and had 1 pole as well. He had 115 points at 19 back from Burkhardt. Beans Forster, he was looking to repeat as a champion this year. He was our season 7 champion. He comes home with the bronze this year. 97 points puts him in third. Nagase Yoshikawa manages to take home 4th position, 4th in the championship, with Deacon Greenfield 5th. And you can see there, really, once you get past like the top 5 drivers or so, it is just so close there as you go through the top 20. Really great fights, great battles in the MX5 Cup in Spec Miata this season, Jack.
Yeah, it seemed to be that way. It's a shame that I had to join so late in the season, man. I would have loved to see some of the action that we saw. I know I got to see last week at VIR determine the champion, but man, these guys, if they put on a race like they did last week, I think we're in for a show yet again. Because I think, like we saw in the Spec Racer Ford, the draft is going to play another key part in this race. These Mazdas, man, they draft really well.
They pick up, yeah. They look like, especially in comparison to the original old Miatas, the NA and NB Miatas from the early 90s. They look very sleek at the nose, but they are not the most aerodynamic cars. They've got a fairly vertical windshield in order to help with rollover protection, actually. And as you can see, they run with an open top, so it leaves for a pretty big vortex of air working its way through the cockpit and then out towards the back of the car. And it really puts a big hole in the wind for the car behind to be able to draft up. And it's not uncommon that to see a car that maybe even a full second back be able to hook in the draft in that slipstream and pull right on up. As we've still got Burkhardt there, and it looks like Burkhardt and Murphy Nichols working together in qualifying. Is Nichols in the number 5 machine? Well, he's currently qualified 5th. Drops a wheel going off and out of turn 6 onto the Ray Hall straight, but a lot more traffic as I'm seeing, I think 17 or 18 cars currently out here trying to had to abort those laps here, as we now have less than a minute remaining. And you know, Jack, we talked in the last qualifying session how the top 3 rows were all within 1 second of one another, and here the top 4 are all within half a second. And if you know, there's a little bit of a gap right now, a little bit further back. You take a look at Nichols at a 1. He will still be able to get to the start-finish line before iRacing ends the session on him. He is He's got a 136.68. He was looking to beat a 136.47, which was Burkhardt's provisional pole time. But with that spin at the corkscrew, John Sohn, he's going to have to settle for second fastest here in qualifying. As we're watching Beans Forster, he's just on a cool down lap there. The number 231 machine, currently sixth fastest. And here was a late change. Andrew Wozencroft, last driver, Jack, to cross the start-finish line, and he bests Megan Overstreet, moving up to seventh. And so we've got the grid coming up here now. Let's take a look and see who our starters are. On the pole tonight with a qualifying time of 136.34, it's Morgan Burkhardt. Aaron John Sohn, he's going to start right beside him in the number 24 machine. Caleb Patry, our GR86 Cup winner tonight, he is going to start third in the 198 machine with Giancarlo Schooler from Delta Sport. He starts fourth. Murphy Nichols from Smoketown Brewery Racing, he will start in fifth in the number 5 car with Beans Forster starting in sixth. Andrew Wozencroft will start seventh with Megan Overstreet eighth, and Deacon Greenfield and Brad Gould will make up row number 5. John Wilson and Josh Justice, they'll start 11th and 12th tonight with Charles Vaccaro and Trenton Kramer making up row number 7, starting 13th and 14th. Starting 15th is going to be Rich Green in that number 12 Moza entry, with Jamison Huffman in the number 89 machine starting right next to him. That is a huge surprise to me. Jack is and if we're looking for a hard charger tonight, it's probably going to be the 89 machine. Wayne Buttermore and Caleb Pocock will make up row number 9, and our sole driver on row number 10, starting 19th tonight, will be Stephen Blethyn. All right, and as we get ready for the pace car to roll off on this final race of the night, and as we get ready to wrap up things here, a couple quick notes. If you like what you're seeing here tonight, please go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. My best friend's young daughter says you smash the thumbs up button. Go ahead and smash it, and click on the notification bell so you can find out all the times that Apex Racing TV goes live with virtual road racing, well, not just road racing, but virtual racing all around the globe, seemingly 24/7. You can also find out about us on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, and on Twitter. Whoa, as we have Aaron John Sohn spin the car on the pace lap, going into the dirt there through Andretti. He's now going to have to rejoin from the back of the pack, but I say you can find us, and Aaron John Sohn, he might want to watch this broadcast afterwards. He can find us at Apex Racing TV. Wow, that is an interesting start, and that is going to move now Giancarlo Schooler in the 111 machine. I think up to, well, if this was real life racing, he would now find himself on the front row, but it looks like he's going to sit back there in fourth. Aaron John Sohn, well, we'll see what he does if he works his way through the field to try and retake the position. But while our pace car brings the field up the hill towards turn number 6, Jack, let's talk quickly about our sponsor for the final race of the evening, and that is my favorite, Grassroots Motorsports Magazine. Built for the true sports car enthusiast, Grassroots Motorsports has one mission, and that's to be your personal guide to the sports car world. Whether it's online at grassrootsmotorsports.com, in print or in person, the racers and builders, the car nerds at Grassroots Motorsports, take you behind the scenes and show you how to make your car better. Along the way, they'll give you a taste of everything this hobby has to offer, from 1,000 horsepower track monsters to cool street cars built in driveways. And they also maintain a collection of staff-built project cars, because hands-on technical articles, they're not typed behind a desk, they're scribbled down in the garage. To not only read but become part of the story, head on over to grassrootsmotorsports.com. And so, Jack, am I seeing what I think I'm seeing? Has Aaron John Sohn worked his way back up to the front row after that little off?
Yeah, I believe he has, and if that spin during the pace lap is a sign of things to come, then we are in for a wild one, man. Oh, wow.
I told you, getting heat in the tires in these MX-5s, that's half the battle right there. As we've got the green flag in the air, and we are racing from WeatherTech Raceway as Giancarlo Schooler in that black 111 machine, he goes to give John Sohn the push, coming down the hill towards the Andretti hairpin. Burkhardt to the inside. Johnson looked like he was going to try to slide in behind Burkhardt, but Caleb Patry had other ideas, and Johnson, perhaps rightly so, decided not to move down to the apex. He's now going to sit third, as we've got Schooler and Nichols side by side battling it out for fourth. Then with Beans Forster in sixth, Andrew Wozencroft, Deacon Greenfield as Schooler now finally working his way around the number 5 machine, and Beans Forster getting around the white number 5 as well.
Yeah, we saw Murphy Nichols had a wild save right there. He got in the sand, but he was able to save it and keep going. I think what you mentioned about Johnson earlier is he hasn't been in here in over a year. That's going to be tough because maybe he hasn't raced with some of these guys before. We have second running off, and let's see if he can save it, and he does. He
Caleb
loses.
Patry.
He lost spots, but he was able to save it. These guys, the heat are not in the tires, and you can see they are sliding around everywhere. But so far, so good as far as everyone keep running. So, but you continue to my point. Johnson hasn't raced with these guys for a while, so I don't know if maybe they don't trust him as much, or vice versa. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
That's right. And so a little further back in the pack, we're watching now Rich Green battled out with Stephen Blethen and Pocock coming down the inside. They're right behind the 444 machine to Trenton Kramer. Trenton, I'm sure, will go. Oh, and that's Megan Overstreet, who finished on the podium in our last race. She loops the car coming out of the final corner, out of turn number 11. That's going to set her back all the way to the rear of the field. And should mention, Jamison Huffman, I don't think ever took the green flag here this evening. I don't show him as having turned a wheel. But Morgan Burkhardt is your leader now. He's got about a car length on Aaron Johnson. Giancarlo Schooler running in third with Beans Forster about 6 car lengths back, and Forster now has that red number 198 machine of Patry to contend with. We'll see, though, here, Jack, as they come up the hill towards turn 6, if Caleb Patry approaches the entrance to 6 maybe a little bit differently so that he doesn't spend the entire run up to the corkscrew running through the dirt.
Yeah, it looked like he took a little bit of a safer approach, but the guy in front of him did not, and he's running off the track. Forrester is. He just our previous winner, and he's able to save it and continue on. But, man, these Mazdas, they're pretty forgiving right now, which is weird because of the cold tires. But I think as we see the tires warming up throughout the race, it's going to be better for these guys. But I don't think they realize how cold the tires are, and they're kind of attacking the track a little bit more than they probably should to start the race.
There goes Caleb Pocock finding out how cold the rear tires are going into the corkscrew. We saw the rear end step around on him under braking into the corkscrew before he even got back on the throttle and turned the car in. He's going to give up a position to the 150 machine of Stephen Blethen, and then Pocock's got Green just ahead of, or right behind him.
Yeah, and shout out to Blethen. He's already up 7 positions, started 19th, and he's up to 12th, so he's looking to get a good finish tonight, and so far so good. He's just able to make up these positions, and we'll see if he can maybe work his way up towards the top 5 or so.
Wow, and getting loose going down into the Andretti hairpin there. We were just watching as Blethen had the rear end just wandering around everywhere on him there, as these drivers are still trying to come to grips with the lack of grip here at WeatherTech Raceway, as Morgan Burkhardt has started to open up the smallest of gaps. Both he and Jenson ran almost identical lap times that last time by, ran a 36.85, almost 0.15 of a second faster than Giancarlo Schooler sitting in third, and you can see Schooler they're about 4 car lengths back from Aaron Johnson, as we're sitting on the back right now of Morgan Burkhardt's number 40 machine.
Yeah, and the toughest thing for Burkhardt is he's trying to maintain that gap and trying to pull away as much as he can while getting heat in the tires. So if anyone has the toughest race right now, it's got to be him. Even though he's leading, like, sending it off in the corner, unsure of how the car is going to react, it has to feel kind of nerve-wracking. But especially when someone's on your tail as much as Johnson is, I mean, that's got to be tough, right?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, there's a lot there to manage. Obviously, you have to see what the driver behind, and wow, Johnson goes really deep down into Andretti. Should also notice that Patry has gotten around Beans Forster, so moved Patry up to 4th. But John Sohn got on the brakes, I'd say probably a good 50 feet later than Morgan Burkhardt that time by, and was able to make up, I'd say probably a car length to a car length and a half going down into Andretti. The downside of that and carrying more speed to the apex, though, Jack, is that Burkhardt was able to carry more speed past the apex and open things up. But we can see here exactly what the effects of the draft are, as they had essentially coming out of Andretti, you have the double right-hand turns before you get to the double left-handers right here. It's almost like one long straightaway. And Jen Sohn was able to draft right up back to the back of Burkhardt.
Yeah, and something else you can hear is those tires just squealing. Oh my goodness, they're squealing so much. He's trying to get the grip out of them, and they just want to slide. That's just how that Mazda drives, man. And, it wants to slide and slide and slide, but to be fast, you kind of have to slide it while maintaining control, which sounds really difficult, because it is.
All right, and just saw, it looked like we had a car possibly go off, going through the rainy curve, and that was Rich Green, the number 12 machine. He had a huge impact coming out of rainy, out of turn number 9, and impacted the wall. And I didn't see the car go flying, but I saw the nose of the car go flying and kind of knew that had been a problem. He now is in the pits. John Wilson in the pits, as well as John Sohn and Burkhardt now side by side, as then a little bit of a touch as they come through the Andretti hairpin through turn 2 and then into turn 3. Burkhardt's got position for these dual right-handers as they come through 3. Burkhardt popping over the curb. That's going to slow him down a little bit on exit. And Aaron John Sohn, for the first time tonight, he's your race leader.
Yeah, and I wonder if John Sohn's real-life experience in the Mazdas is starting to creep up, and maybe he's starting to get the feel of the tires a little bit and how they're feeling, and he might just check out, because that last lap he was about 3/10 faster. I'm not sure if it was because of the draft as much as it was just him. He was attacking Burkhardt a lot, especially in the corkscrew and in this corner right here. I mean, we'll see what happens, but I think it's going to be a challenge for Burkhardt to get right back by him.
Well, we'll see here as John Sohn definitely got a better drive out of turn 6 and up the Ray Hall straight towards the corkscrew. And you can see right there the braking and what is required to get these cars woed down up at the top of the corkscrew. The rear end moves around a lot. The front end moves around a lot. There's a lot of steering correction dialed in, but then they go back to just this nice smooth running through that heavily apex turn number 10 and then under braking into turn 12. And I think, Jack, at least in looking at this lap, that it was probably more attributed just to the draft than anything else, as Burkhardt now gets a good run out of the final corner, and he comes underneath John Sohn. John Sohn's going to try and open up the Andretti hairpin to try to come underneath the number 40 machine, but Burkhardt keeps the car to the inside, defends very well, and retakes the lead.
Yeah, it looked like John Sohn got in the sand just a little bit out of the last corner, getting on the straightaway, and Burkhardt was able to just carry the momentum that he had and get right back by him. So null and void everything I just said. He's going to have to get right back by Burkhardt again, which I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not going to talk about these guys individually, because every time I do, an incident happens. So
that's the announcer's curse. I'll take the load off of you on that one, as both Caleb Patry and Beans Forster have now caught up to Giancarlo Schooler. Well, why don't we throw Murphy Nichols into the conversation as well in that white number 5 machine. He's a little bit further off the back of those 3 drivers, but Schooler, who is kind of on an island all by himself in the 111 machine. Now he's got some drafting partners. If these drivers, and we saw what they were doing there in the Spec Racer Ford race from the drop of the green flag, but with only about 10 minutes out of this 25-minute race complete, if they know what's good for them, they'll just stay in line. They should be able to draft back up to Burkhardt and John Sohn. As we drop a little bit further back in the field, this is a great little battle that's been going on between Charles Vaccaro and that red and blue number 221 machine, and Brad Gould, who we saw in the Spec Racer Fords. He's here tonight in the MX-5s as well, in that number 97 machine. That is the battle for 8th, with Vaccaro having started 13th, making up 5 positions.
Yeah, he's worked his way into the top 10, and he's having a good run tonight. We'll see if he can hold off Gould. That might be a little tough, though. I mean, these guys running about the same lap times, but that draft just, once you separate from the draft, about a second or so ahead of the other guy, it makes it much easier to get away. But getting to that initial seconds, the toughest part for sure. But I want to give a shout out to Murphy Nichols. We kind of mentioned him earlier, but on lap 1, about turn 4, man was in the sand sideways. So good job on him to recover and just try to calm down and get his race going. And now he's sitting here in P6, and he's only about 3.7 seconds behind the leader. And as we've seen, if you're in this pack, in the lead pack, that's really all that matters. It doesn't really matter where you're at. It just matters that you're in the pack. So good job for him.
Yeah, and that's kind of been over the years of and running wide. That is Caleb Patry getting it wrong at the corkscrew, and I don't think he had an off there. I think he just had issues negotiating the corkscrew, pulled out of the way, and was able to get the car back underway. I mean, the knock against Murphy Nichols is I've seen him over maybe not knowing he was there. Burkhardt's going to give Johnson the position back, but that is going to drop both of these drivers down into 6th and 7th position respectively. Nice classy move there from Burkhardt. But they've got a lot of work to pick up. Let's take a look, Jack, and see what happened.
Yeah, Burkhardt defends the move just a little bit. He gives him the space, and it just looks like, Johnson might have came up a little bit.
Yeah, and I don't know, and maybe we can see an overhead shot if possible. I think what might have happened is Johnson, this will be a good shot here, as Johnson comes down to the inside. He started to push a little wide, and a lot of that, I think Burkhardt actually gave him quite a bit of room. Johnson hit the curbing at the first apex of Andretti, and it pushed the car out to the right. And I don't know if there's much that Burkhardt could have done there as they went off. I think they're probably gonna take a look at that after the race, and it'll probably be ruled a racing incident there. But Giancarlo Schooler, he is your new leader here. Here we go. Is Schooler your new leader with Beans Forster and Murphy Nichols sitting up in 3rd, and Caleb Patry, who had been sitting 2nd in this group just 2 laps ago, had that issue over at the corkscrew. I'm sure he regrets that move now. As we've got the field now coming up, making the run once again to the corkscrew. Let's see what happens here, and you can see Patry taking a little bit more measured approach at the top of the hill there.
Yeah, and these guys in 5th and 6th, Johnson and Burkhardt, they're not out of it. I mean, they had that really bad, mistake or racing incident, whatever you want to call it, in turn 1. But I mean, they're still maybe 4 seconds back.
And they've got a lot of time. They've got over 10 minutes to make up the ground. Right now, they are only about 3 seconds off the back of Caleb Patry. It's not much at all. And those 2 drivers work together.
And 3rd place is winning too.
Yep, there you go. Murphy Nichols having an issue, as well as Caleb Patry. Both of those drivers now. Patry off into the pits. Murphy Nichols, I think he's gone and gathered the car back up, but he's lost a lot of ground to Schooler and Forster. That is going to put Nichols, I think, in the crosshairs of Johnson and Burkhardt here soon enough. As those 2 drivers now coming into turn 11, they are now only about 2.2 seconds back from Murphy Nichols.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. Sorry. It didn't look like they were close enough to make contact. I think both of them just might have ran off into the sand, and Patrick couldn't save it like Nichols could. Oh my goodness, that is insane. That is unfortunate too. Those guys were running really fast up front.
All right, so we are now watching Schooler and Forster. This is the battle for the lead. Schooler has now led the last 4 laps. Forster looking for the way around. And
I think he just...
just as we were saying, hey, if Patry and Johnson know it's, it'd be a good idea with 10 minutes remaining for them to just stay in line. These 2 sitting up at the front, if there was ever a good time for them to just work the draft instead of making the race come back to them, this would be the time.
Yeah, I think Beans is just going to try to do what he did last race and take the lead from things that happen that.
So somebody tell Schooler you got to keep the car on the track there. As Schooler dropped the right rear wheel coming out of turn 6 on the Rahal, and big death wiggle there, was able to gather things up. But you saw where Beans Forster, who probably could have motored by or motored underneath the 111 car, which would have slowed them both down going through the corkscrew, he decided to hold station and slot in and stay back behind our leader, Giancarlo Schooler, and he's going to do that once again coming out of 11, as both Nichols, Johnson, and now Burkhardt as well starting to close things down on our leaders. And Forster's doing the bump draft. He's trying to push the 111 car up, and he is taking the right approach at this point.
Yeah, I think he kind of sees, he learned a lot in that last race for sure, winning and avoiding the attrition. And I think he kind of did that too in the hairpin, the last lap, or the corkscrew, because, I think he knows how to win this race. He has to bide his time. There's still 9 minutes or so left, and he knows he has fast people behind him, so it's like, why get side by side and let these guys catch you really fast when maybe you can work with him at least until maybe a lap or two to go, and, maybe these guys won't be right on your rear end, because they probably will be. They're setting really fast laps. They're, about a half second to 7/10 faster a lap. So, they should be there. But he knows that this is his best opportunity to win the race. It's not race him now, but race him later.
Exactly. So that last time by when Schooler and Forster ran mid-137s, Burkhardt at a 136.9, Aaron Johnson at a 137 flat. So quite a bit faster than our two leaders. Murphy Nichols sitting right in the middle of it all. Nichols having his own trouble. He had another off over at turn 3 the last time by. He keeps turning in really early there, and it is going to end up biting him a little bit harder at some point. Again, I think the kid just needs to settle down a little bit here, as Johnson and Burkhardt now have pulled up right behind the number 5 machine. They're going to use the draft of the number 5. We'll see if they try to push the 5 up a little further, or if they're just going to dispatch with them early. At this point here, Johnson and Burkhardt are still running almost a full second faster than the number 5 machine.
Yeah, I think the best thing that Nichols can do is maybe let these guys go and try to, follow him, because his pace isn't quite what everyone else's is. He's a little bit off, so your best opportunity is just follow the draft and see what happens. But it doesn't seem like he wants to do that, which I understand as a racer. You don't want to ever really give up spots, but you have to think big picture here. If you want to get this win, you got to let him go, I think.
There you go. And so Johnson's going to try to come underneath the number 5 machine, going through turn 5 and up the hill. And this should be good for Johnson coming in here. The problem is he's going to end up throwing away a lot of speed up the hill, and Murphy Nichols, good save by Nichols. Turn 6 and right at the apex, it's not a corner you can go too wide through there. There is that little divot, that little dip right at the apex, but if you're on the outside, there just isn't a lot of grip. And Johnson, he pushed the issue, and there wasn't much that Nichols could do about it. And so with Nichols going wide, Burkhardt now moves ahead as well. That moves Johnson up at the 3rd, Burkhardt up in the 4th.
Yeah, and as I had just mentioned before, I don't know if racing him right there was the best idea, but that's what he chose to do, and we'll see if he can stick on him. But it's going to be interesting now with about 6.5 to go, minutes that is, if Johnson and Burkhardt can catch these top 2. It's going to be interesting.
And Nichols there, he gets the car back underway, and Nichols, we'll see, he's getting awfully close. Jack, when you were interviewing the folks at the end of the Spec Racer Ford race here, let's take a look and see what happened with Murphy Nichols. Well, this is from the previous lap here. This is the overtake where Aaron Johnson got around Nichols, and I don't think there was any contact, but Johnson just didn't really give him a lot of room. It was good on Murphy Nichols to not have any contact there, but there wasn't anywhere for him to put the car. Let's take a look here, as unfortunately we don't have the what happened to him, but I think Murphy Nichols again had issues at turn number 3. But I was going to say, Jack, that when you were interviewing the folks after the Spec Racer Ford race, almost all of them said, "Oh yeah, I was running up against the total incident limit." and I was worried I was going to get black flagged. And I think some of our drivers are in the same position now. And I think as Murphy Nichols brings his car down the pit lane, I think that's exactly what the story is with Murphy Nichols. I think he may have run into that incident limit and gotten a drive-through penalty, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, it takes a top 5 run away, and he was having a good run, but it just seemed like he kept going off track, or just not really having the clean laps that he needed to be able to finish up front. But as we're talking about 3rd and 4th, these guys are not really catching the top 2 as fast as I thought they would. But as I mentioned, if these two at all get side by side in the corkscrew or anywhere on the track, they will be there. So it'll be interesting to see how Beans, I think he's a pretty smart guy. I don't think he's just going to go up there and start racing him before it's time to.
So did I mention, besides Beans winning the Season 7 championship in Spec Racer Ford, winning in, we ran some Formula cars last year. He won the Formula Car Series, and he was also our MX-5 champion last year as well. So needless to say, Beans Forster, he's got a head on him, and he's very savvy behind the wheel here, and I think he knows what he's doing with Schooler, and he is going to wait, as we now have, when our drivers pass the line, we're going to have a little bit more than 2 minutes remaining. So we should have, I think, probably 2 more laps to go here. And indeed, with Forster just kind of sitting back behind the 111 car, they have been keeping good pace when you consider what Jensone and Burkhardt are running. All 4 cars have been running almost identical lap times. That last time, Jensone and Burkhardt ended up picking up about 0.3 of a second. But, with only 2 laps to go, they're going to need a lot more than that, I think, as you watch them all come out of 3 going into 4.
Yeah, Forrester's, I don't know how he's being so patient. I don't know if I could do it, getting right up to the rear end on the front stretch and not pulling out the pass. He knows, like you said, he's won a bunch of championships. So, he obviously has an idea how to win these things. And it's obviously the best strategy. I'm pretty sure about that. But it'll be interesting. You said we probably have about 2 laps, and we're probably going to be coming to the white flag this time around. And will he make his move on the front stretch, or does he wait? Because I don't think you want to be side by side more than maybe a corner.
Well, here we go. Beans Forster, he takes a look to the inside, going into the corkscrew under braking. Called that move off almost immediately, though. But I think he's letting Giancarlo Schooler know that Schooler's not just going to lead Forster to the line and to the checkered flag today. Here as Schooler gets defensive coming out of 10 and into 11, and it is game on here at WeatherTech Raceway as Schooler moves over center of track. He's going to try and force Beans Forster, driver's right, and white flag is in the air. It's the last lap here at WeatherTech Raceway as looks like Murphy Nichols has served his penalty, and he is now on his way out. And there we go. Schooler, Forster, and actually that wasn't, that was actually, I think that might have been Trent Kramer actually coming back out onto the track there. But Jensone and Burkhardt now are, about 1.4, 1.5 seconds back. And they're still working together. Forster, he's got about 3/4 of a lap to figure out what he has to do to beat the 111 car. Jensone and Burkhardt now, it's fight on for them. I think they both realize they're not close enough to fight for the win, so they might as well fight for 3rd, as they're now going to go side by side through turn 6. Burkhardt giving Jensone maybe a little bit more room than Jensone gave Murphy Nichols a couple of laps before, as they come up to the corkscrew. Jensone's about half a car length up.
Yeah, these two are battling really, really hard for 3rd place, and meanwhile back in the front.
And we'll see. I thought maybe Jensone got a slowdown penalty, but maybe not.
Yes, Schooler's holding off Forster, but it's going to be interesting. Does he dive into the last corner? Forster's off the track. I don't think he's going to be there. I think Schooler's going to hold him off.
Yeah, Forster went wide coming out of turn 10, ended up losing probably all the momentum that he would have needed to get around the 111 car, and Giancarlo Schooler takes the win in Spec Miata. Beans Forster finishes second. Morgan Burkhardt, 9/100ths of a second is the margin between he and Aaron Johnson for third place. Andrew Wozencroft, he's going to work his way up into fifth position. Great run for Andrew. We didn't get him on camera for much of this race, but a great race for him. Josh Justice will come home in sixth. There's Charles Vaccaro, and he's got some battle scars there, Jack, on the right side of that car, that number 221 machine, as he survives the battle. And he is a race veteran here now at Laguna Seca. Charles Vaccaro coming home in seventh. And there you go, Giancarlo Schooler starting his donuts early. We're trying to do his donuts early there. He's actually going to go back to the pits. So Vaccaro finished seventh. Caleb Pocock finished in eighth, made up 10 positions, did the 88 car. Megan Overstreet, she finishes in ninth. Stephen Blethen picks up 9 positions. He finishes in 10th. All right, so let's see here. And Jack, we have some folks starting to show up in the green room here. Let's see, we've got Giancarlo, we've got Morgan. Let's see. I want to see if Aaron Johnson shows up. We got Giancarlo. Beans Forster comes in. All right, tell you what, because something tells me that Aaron probably isn't going to know where to come. Let's bring in Morgan Burkhardt. Started on pole tonight, finishes third in Spec Miata.
Morgan, another podium tonight, and you had some good battles with Johnson. Walk me through what happened in turn one there, from your perspective.
Yeah, it was pretty fun throughout. We were kind of just checking out from the pack behind and racing a little bit, and more racing than bump drafting. But went side by side into turn one. I kind of I knew he was going to do it from the body language of the car coming down the front straight, so I tried to cut it off, but he snuck through on the inside coming into turn one, so I tried to open up the corner, and since he had such a shallow line, he went a little. He had to kind of pinch off the first apex to turn two, and I didn't really anticipate it enough, and we made side by side contact, and unfortunately he got hooked across my nose. But I figured I should probably wait up for him so that it was a little bit more fair, and we were able to have a good fight towards the end of the race. So all in all, pretty good outing.
Yeah, it looked like to us that it was just like one of them racing incidents. I mean, I think one of you hit the bumps a little bit going into turn one as well. It might have been him, but either way, I mean, you guys raced really well together, and you almost had another shot at the win. I mean, a bunch of chaos happened up front. Did you see what happened to your teammate Caleb? I mean, all of a sudden, we saw him in the sand and then in the wall.
I'm pretty sure he got eaten alive by the kink and just claimed another victim. So just dropping a tire, either hitting the sausage. I don't remember what it was, but it was either sausage or dropping a tire on the exit, and the car just swaps ends so fast.
Yeah, walk me through like the first few laps with the cold tires, because it seemed like everyone was struggling to keep the car on the track.
Yeah, the cars they're super skatey. At least mine was. And I was kind of watching the cars in the mirrors. It was difficult for sure in the first few laps, trying to keep the rear end under the car. But it got a lot better as the stint went on. Yeah, definitely. I got to thank my parents, of course, you and Greg for putting on a broadcast for us, Stevie for setting up the league, my grandparents, of course, and big shout out to Jeeben.
Alrighty, well, we will see you next season, hopefully, and we enjoyed seeing you race tonight.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. Morgan Burkhardt finishing third tonight in Spec Miata. Let's move over now. And I think this is probably, the third time we've interviewed him tonight in three sessions. Let's talk to Beans Forster, driver of the number 231 Mazda Miata, finishing second tonight.
Beans, you almost went back-to-back, man. I really thought that you had it. Those last few laps, it seemed like you were just kind of following and waiting and trying not to be side-by-side, so third and fourth could catch up to you guys. So walk me through those last few laps, what you were thinking.
Yeah, we saw Aaron and Morgan have that incident early on, and we knew they were going to be gunning up to the front. So instead of fighting JC, I decided to wait till the last lap to do it. And then second to last corner is usually when I was faster than him, but I turned in a little bit early and I ruined my chance at a dive down in the last turn.
Yeah, it seemed like that's what you were doing for sure. And honestly, the lap or two before that, Schooler looked like he was starting to slip off the corner. So I don't know. If you could redo it, do you think you would maybe make the move with a lap or so earlier?
No, I definitely would have saved it for the last lap. I mean, Aaron finished very close behind us, closer than he was way earlier on in the race. So I definitely would have saved it for the last lap. I had my chance and I messed it up.
Well, I mean, you still got P2, and you won the previous race in the spec race, so I'd call it a good night. Who would you like to thank?
Same. Thank you guys. Thank everyone here. Wilson Sims and Team Watson Racing.
Alrighty, well, we will see you next week, and we loved watching you race tonight, man. It was a pleasure to watch you race so smart and clean.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. Beans Forster, great run for him. As again, he was our season 7 champion in all 3 classes, and already took 1 win here tonight in the runoffs. Congratulations to him. And finally, let's now move over to the driver of the number 111 machine, also driving for Delta Sport Racing in his Mazda MX-5, Giancarlo Schooler.
Giancarlo, you are our final winner of the night in the runoffs in the Mazda MX-5. Walk me through that race because it looked crazy from up here.
We had Giancarlo in a couple of weeks ago, and he had microphone issues as well. So this is the point where we talk about him, or maybe you interview me, and I'll pretend that I'm Giancarlo. How's that? Well, Jack, it was a great race. I really didn't expect to have Aaron and Morgan get together in front of us, but I knew that all I had to do was keep Beans Forster behind me, and on the very last lap, I got a little defensive and held off for the win. Thanks so much.
Well, I think you just said it all for him.
That's right. I'd like to thank the great folks from Delta Sport. I'd like to thank Greg Ginsberg, my mentor, Carlos Schooler, my father, who is a great racer in his own right, Morgan Burkhardt, Jameson Huffman, Beans Forster, Caleb Patry, and thanks so much for watching us win tonight.
You're
See,
welcome.
I'm not the interviewer. I'm better as the interviewee. All right, well, we'll give Giancarlo a couple more seconds here to see if he can get his microphone issues resolved. And I just saw him go and mute on and mute off. Giancarlo gonna move on in 3, 2, and he's gone. Made our job easy. All right, so thanks so much to Giancarlo Schooler. And actually, I want to, as we wrap up here, Jack, after a great night of racing from WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, want to congratulate our winners across all 3 races. Of course, taking the win in T3, Touring 3, the GR86 Cup cars was Caleb Patry. Jameson Huffman taking the win in Touring 4, the Jetta TDI Cup cars. Beans Forster in Spec Racer Ford, and Giancarlo Schooler, who I thought I was a good stand-in for him, taking the win in Spec Miata in the Global MX-5 Cup cars. It was a wonderful evening, and the Ray Esports Racing League, we're going to be taking a couple weeks off, going to be coming back probably right around the beginning of May with season number 9. If you want to find out more about racing with the Ray Esports Racing League, you can go to rayesportsracing.com, and we'll be happy to give you all that information. Or if you want to you can reach out to me directly at greg@ginsberg.org, which means I'm going to get a whole bunch of spam now, and I will direct you over towards the league so you can come race with us next season. And as we do wrap up here, Jack, first off, obviously want to welcome you aboard. It's been great to have you for the last couple of weeks, and I look forward to that season 9. I think we make a real good team, but I also want to wish all the best to Jonathan Grabowski, broadcaster for Apex Racing TV, and both John and his lovely wife, Vanessa. I think they're both already at the hospital. They are awaiting their very first child, due to be delivered either tonight or sometime early tomorrow morning. And of course, John's been an integral part of the Ray Esports Racing broadcasts, both Ray Esports Racing League as well as the Weekend Warriors, for many seasons. And he told me today that he's looking forward to raising the next Morgan Burkhardt or Elvis Rankin to virtual racing glory. And so watch out for a young Grabowski in the years to come. And mazel tov to you and your wife, Jonathan. So for Jack Ritchie, For Lee Thompson, doing an amazing job behind the scenes here tonight, I'm Greg Ginsburg. We'll see you in just a couple weeks for season number 9 of the Ray Esports Racing League here on Apex Racing TV. Have a great evening, great Easter, and a great month of April, everybody.